What is up, everybody? Welcome this fine Wednesday to HVAC Uncensored. Guys, you always know we start off the podcast by showing those people love who always show love to this podcast. Guys, first and foremost is going to be my friends over at Yellowjacket. Guys, I love Yellowjacket, and it's so funny that I'm talking about them. Today, I was out on a call helping my guys, and we used one of the Yellowjacket leak detectors to find this leak. I absolutely love their products. I love what they stand for. They're made right here in the US of A. They don't ship any kind of work overseas. It's all made right here in the United States. And I always say sometimes their stuff doesn't look flashy, but it does what it's intended to do. I think their vacuum pumps are the best in the business. And until I'm proven wrong, I'll believe that till the day I die. Not to mention my first set of gauges ever in this industry was the old Yellowjacket analog gauges. And it just symbolizes mine and my father's relationship. And it just means the world to me. So guys, if you're looking to buy some new products, check out your local supply house and check out Yellowjacket. Remember, 70 years of expertise built into every tool. Guys, next, real fast, is going to be my friends over at the Service Hero Academy. The application that they have, the app, it is constantly growing. It is helping people. If you're a horrible tech, is this going to make you learn how to fix everything? No, but I do think this is a powerful tool to have in your pocket. Guys, I'm promoting this for nothing. I had a link, like a affiliate link. I don't even know what it is. So I'm doing this because I just think it will help all of you out there be better. You'll have that little bit of guidance in your pocket, whether it is fixing a certain particular part, it's the communication part to the customer. It will help you off in the long run. I've had tons of people reach out to me and say, thank you. Guys, please check it out, serviceheroacademy.com, and you can check out the app there. If you don't mind, just tell them HVAC Uncensored sent you, so maybe I might get a few bucks in the long run. We'll see. Another one real fast that I'm going to say is they're a new sponsorship that I'm in the process of working out a discount for you guys is going to be Company Cam. They link with a bunch of the CRMs out there. They are amazing as far as all your documentation for a job, putting all your pictures and all that information neat, organized in a place that you can go back and find it. It documents the step of the job. It's really, really cool stuff. So we're in the process of working that with them. We're going to schedule a live stream here soon in the Facebook group that I'm going to do with one of the fine young ladies from over there at Company Cam. And you guys can be more than happy to ask any questions about that product. All right. Enough paying the bills, but I do want you to remember, if you're going to buy any tools, go to True Tech Tools and use the discount code Uncensored to save 8% of your order. All right. Got an awesome guest tonight, man. Let's get on with this Pledge of Allegiance and good stuff, because I can't wait to talk to this the House Whisperer. Yeah, I heard that he can make your mortgage go away, so we're going to find out if that's really true. Let's see. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. God bless the United States, and thank you to all those men and women who defend it.
Five, four, three, two, one, go!
Welcome to the #1 rated HVAC podcast. If you're looking to grow in the HVAC industry, then you're in the right spot. Blue collar people talking about blue collar shit. Let's get better together. So turn up the volume, buckle your seatbelt, and let's welcome your host, Gil KV Jr.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the HVAC Uncensored podcast. As always, I appreciate you guys being here, spending your Wednesday nights with this. Real fast before I introduce my guest, I do want to say this. If you get to watch this live, that's awesome. I love you guys being here live. If you watch it after the fact, if you could just type replay in the comments, I would just love to know how many people actually watch this after the fact. So just would help me a little bit. Anyway, guys, let's get on with this show. I am so happy to have, this is the second time he's been on. The last time he was on, it was when me and Kelly were still together. I think this man is doing great things in the industry as far as making people look at the whole envelope when it comes to a house, the really big picture of what's going on in the home performance industry. Guys, let's put your hands together and welcome Mr. Nate Adams. Oh, hold on, buddy. There you go. Now you're unmuted.
Oh, there we go. What's up? How you doing tonight?
Good, buddy. Thank you so much for being here, man. I appreciate you coming back again.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I've got a little bit better lighting than last time when I was in that hotel in Erie, Pennsylvania, because my wife was like, we got to get the hell out of here. It was the middle of lockdown and she was just annoyed. And like, she always wants change and something going on. She's like, we just got to go. And I'm like, I'm supposed to be on a show tonight. And she's like, figure it the fuck out. So we did. So that was the bad lighting last time.
Nah, it's awesome, man. It's all right. When guests come on, man, you guys don't have to be perfect, but it's the knowledge that you drop, man. So I guess real fast, most people are saying in the comments, Nate, all that kind of stuff. So most people know who you are between being on with the Overtime guys. This looks like a Kung Fu special. That's Overtime. That's probably Adam. But I guess for anybody in here that doesn't know who Nate Adams are, I guess tell them in a brief description who Mr. Nate is.
Brief? I'm not always that great at that. But anyway, I'm called the House Whisperer because I can basically solve just about anything that's going wrong with the house comfort-wise or health-wise. And it sounds like magic, but it's all just applied physics at the end of the day. So I'm a nerd with physics and science. And so we have created the HVAC 2.0 process so that anyone who's in the HVAC business can apply all the same stuff. And you don't have to be a genius and you don't have to know everything. You don't need to be Michael Jordan level talent to play. You can be JV and go out there, have fun and win.
Yeah. And that's the thing, man. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Sometimes it's just about taking processes and systems that have already been made and implementing them and sticking to it. Sticking to it's knowing a good system and sticking to it. It's two different battles, and a lot of people can't do it.
100%. I mean, that's it. It's funny. We've come to define 2.0 as three different things. So one of them is a software backed sales process, because fundamentally it's a sales process. As much as I hate saying that, even though I've been in sales my whole life, I hate being called a salesman, because it's like, oh, well, now you think I'm a crook. No, yeah. I'm not a crook. I'm just trying to help you fix your stuff. And then it's a guild. So it's a group of guys, almost all guys, that are helping each other figure out what the hell to do with a client house. And then it's a mindset and an ethos. It's a totally different way of coming at houses, because you come at it not as a mechanic, because fundamentally all the good techs I've met, you guys are amazing technicians, amazing mechanics. But it's tough to become an engineer and zoom out and look at the entire house together. And to do that, you have to fundamentally shift how you think, for better or for worse. I'd love to tell you that part's easy. It ain't. But it's just like all things, it's a learned skill. To become a service technician, to be a good service technician, I mean, can you really do that in less than 3 to 5 years, even if you're really digging in?
Not completely. No. Yeah, I mean,
you could be 90% good, but if I throw you into the wrong situation, you're going to fail.
Yeah, you're going to be a good situational.
You haven't seen before.
Yeah, you're going to be a good situational based mechanic.
Yeah, exactly. So you can't become a master quickly, and this is a totally new skill. So don't beat yourself up. Take the steps one step at a time. We've broke it down so you can actually do it in a way that doesn't crush you. And you get to have fun and learn as you go. And then, I mean, you've watched in the 2.0 group, we've got guys selling all these kind of crazy projects, and they're not twisting arms. there's nothing, there's no coercion whatsoever. I mean, we are very, very much against coercion. We just offer people options. We let them know what the paths cost, what the likely outcomes are, and we ask what do they want, and they tend to choose correctly.
Yeah, our job is to provide solutions and options to fix those problems. You know what I mean? That's what we do, and I think the more people that realize that. So I'm glad that you said that. And obviously, all of us with a technical background, you don't want that. You don't want that sales stigma on you. You know, I'm not that sales guy. Don't you dare call me that. No, it's just about doing a good job. And you got people on here, saying Richard McGrath said, pay attention. Nate's even smarter than he looks. And then I'm pretty sure it's Adam. He said, we've come full circle. This is where I met Nate. So, well, that's awesome.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
He called in. Yeah, he called in with a question about his basement, and it was like towards the edge of my expertise. And I kind of did my best and said, hey, reach out if you need some other help.
I forgot that. Now that you say that, I remember. That's awesome. Because, I know that me and you think the same way. Like, I love high end inverter systems, but I live it though. I mean, granted, I'm in a rental house right now, so I don't, but my last house, I had 2 Carrier Infinity green speeds. I had a heat pump water heater. Like I don't provide something to my customers that I wouldn't put in my own house. So I live that and I do it, but I believe in it. I've put in the work to educate myself so that I can give that stuff to customers and I can answer their questions, honestly and accurately. I'm not just giving them bullshit answers, but, and we'll dig into this deep and I'll get your perspective, but I know we've talked about it before, is when I go out and somebody wants one of these high-end systems and I see that they have ductwork from 1950s, I won't sell them that system unless I'm going to replace the duct system because I know that that's not going to work properly. I'm not going to sell you this, So that's something that we've been playing with because that's where I was. So I'll flip to insulation because that's where I come from. I come from an insulation and air sealing background. So I know building shell way better than HVAC. And frankly, for all you guys that are nervous about the building shell stuff, the air sealing and insulation that we know how to do, to be a service tech, at least 10x what you need to know. Maybe 20x. It's not that hard at the end of the day. But one of my early jobs, I really wanted to pull the insulation out of a client attic because I knew there was a ton of crap literally in there from the pests that had been through there. And so I basically gave him an ultimatum. And my business partner's like, don't give him an ultimatum. Don't do it. But I didn't understand what the alternative was yet. The alternative is you let them know, all right, so, that air sealing target, we're going to have to make it not as hard because we might miss it. Because every time I pull the insulation out of an attic, I'm like, why is that there? That's weird. Who built it like that? Hey, bring that foam gun over here. And it's done. It's just gone. It's not a problem anymore. I found that in my own house when I foamed it last summer. So it's important. Instead of saying you won't do the job is, look, I will do the job, but the odds of success are 40% if we do this. And if that is what happens, I'm letting you know that you own that failure, not me. We can still replace the ducts afterwards, after the fact. But this is not my problem. This is your problem. Or we can do it this way, and we've got a higher chance of success. So that's how we think is more odds. If you go to the doctor and he tells you it's 50-50 odds, you're like, well, let's see. But if he tells you it's 80% odds, you're kind of expecting it to work. But if he tells you 20% odds, you're like, oh crap, I'm going to die. Yeah.
So you can tell your clients 20, 30, 40% odds. And how likely are they to go for that?
No, that's true. I guess I feel like in my position, I put out fires, or I try to not let those fires be created in the first place. If I never let it get created, I'm doing my job even better. So, I mean, would I do it? Maybe. And to be honest, I've only had a few customers that are like, all right, well, I have this other company that's willing to put it in, and I bet they are, but I know that it's not going to work. And I don't want you to spend that much money on something that I know you're not going to get what you pay for. And one lady said, well, Gil, I appreciate your honesty, but I'm going to go with this other guy. System started having issues. And she said, Gil, I know I didn't buy the system from you. She's like, but you were 100% right. I want you to redo the duct system. She's like, I want whatever you need. She's like, I'm not even going to haggle. She's like, don't rip me off, but whatever it costs, I want you to do it. And we went through and did it. And she was a customer at the last company I was with until the day I left. And if she knew where I was now, she'd probably would leave. But
she'd be jumping. Yeah,
but I'm not trying to go to court by stealing customers. So stay where you are, lady. No non-compete getting me here.
So let's say that wasn't a customer. That was for somebody that you used to work for. What if you could have gotten both of those without coercion and by feeling good about it?
It would have been great. And what you're saying makes 100% to say that, like, hey, I'll do it, and putting it like the same thing that, not to veer off here, but even when like I teach my guys, or we teach our guys, when it's like a maintenance or a service call, is to get the customers involved and ask them questions. Like something sounds so small is this good or bad? And hey, this blower wheel's dirty. Do you think that's good or bad? Oh, that's bad. When you get to the end, people don't want to be liars. So if it's like, hey, do you want to clean that blower motor? Well, do I have to? Well, Mr. Johnson, we were downstairs and didn't you agree? You said it was bad. Yeah, I did say that. Well, don't you think that should be cleaned? Yeah, I do. You're not being a stooge. You're just being honest about it. So I guess it makes sense in the sale.
That's all you're doing. You're just holding them accountable.
Exactly.
So I mean, if you sell them the equipment without the ductwork and it fails later, if you have it in writing, look, this is not likely to work with the current ductwork. It's not big enough. You don't have the flow. When it fails, you can point them back at that and be like, so do you remember when we talked about this? And here's where you signed off. Would you like to replace that ductwork now?
No, that makes perfect sense. And granted, I haven't had too many. Most people now here lately, surprisingly, even with the economy, like when we've offered high-end systems and we've brought up like, I haven't had one as bad as that lady. Her ductwork was like really jacked up. Most of them, it's been like, the main stuff's fine. A few alterations, add a return here, a few more supply runs. Most people have been like, if they're going to spend that much money on a high-end system, they're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But in that situation, I do think you're 100% right. I do think I should say, hey, I'll do it, but you need to know that this is not the right way. This is not the way that I would do it. Just so you know that the chances of you having an issue.
This failure, like if you take warranty away, man, there isn't a much better way to scare a client. But that is an honest way to use fear. Like if you look at the duct system, they want 4-ton system on 2 tons of ductwork. You're going to have trouble. It's going to be noisy. The ECM is going to burn up. You might toast something else in the system. Like, don't give a system half the airflow it needs. It's not going to be a happy system. Actually, this brings me to like part of what I wanted to talk about tonight. 2.0 has been known as being basically super nerdy for a while, and fair. Like we started at the end. We figured out how to scalably and repeatably do deep projects that involve both the shell and the HVAC side of things. But we found that those are only like 3% of replacements. So like it's almost nothing in the grand scheme of things. But what we kept finding as we were building 2.0 is when we screwed up, we sold HVAC. So just like left and right, I'm selling systems and I'm not trying to, it's just happening. It's just like accidental. It reminds me of True Lies. I don't know if you remember when Jamie Lee Curtis drops the Uzi and it rolls down the stairway and it's killing everyone. She's like, ah, yeah, that's how I feel selling systems. I'm like, I never meant to sell HVAC, but I just sold HVAC. So the system just naturally does that. But it's all been set up for either moderately screwed up houses or really screwed up houses. And what we're just getting in place now is the free quote process so that you can run any lead through the system. And like one of the key pieces that we're doing in that is we are suggesting offer static pressure testing at free quotes and offer it pretty cheap, frankly. And do you remember watching Breaking Bad? Did you watch that show?
Yeah.
Do you remember the episode when they met Saul and he comes out to the desert and they're getting ready to kill him because, they've just screwed up a cook, all hell had broken loose. Everything was just going to hell. And he's like, put $1 in my pocket. Just put $1 in my pocket. Because he wanted to become their lawyer. So what is it? Attorney-client privilege would apply. And Jesse's like, I only have a $5. He's like, that's fine. Just put it in my pocket. And as soon as they did that, the relationship changed from one of a salesman to one of a consultant. Like something flips as soon as we give somebody money, and it doesn't need to be a lot of money. So we're suggesting $25 to go use a TrueFlow grid. And I don't know if you've seen that tool. It's a pretty cool tool from Tech, the Energy Conservatory. So, I mean, you drill a couple of holes and you use an app. Well, sorry, I'm saying that wrong. I hear David Richardson yelling at me. You install test ports. Because if you tell a client you're going to drill a hole in their system, they're like, what are you doing? I'm installing test ports, ma'am. And then you carry little plugs that you can put in there. But the app for that will tell you, okay, so do this and then do this and then do this. And then you stick this grid in place of where the filter goes, and it will tell you what the flow of the system is and what the static of the system is. And I mean, routinely, do you see oversized systems that don't have enough ductwork? Is that the norm?
No. Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. Normally you see like everybody 5-ton everything. So it's system. It's too much. And normally it's too much with not enough ductwork. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So if you offer them static pressure testing for something cheap, like $25, you're there for a free quote. This is not about making money here. This is about turning into Better Call Saul. You're turning into the consultants. Hopefully you're not becoming a criminal lawyer, as that line went, but you are becoming their consultant. So now you're helping them alongside them instead of trying to sell them something. And so if you do that and you run the static and you find that it's 0.9 inches of water column, that's a problem. Yeah. I mean, and particularly if that's a PSC motor in their old system, if you put an ECM in there, that PSC is probably not moving all that much air, and you'll find out how much it's moving as well. I was just down in Florida at Brian Orr's gig, which is that's a great show. So hopefully you can come next year.
I'm definitely going next year.
It's all super nerds, which is great.
What are you guys doing with Adam? He said he uses his manometer to measure his farts. That's what he just. And then Tanner Dixon just said, "What velocity do you fart at?" These guys in the comments are fucking hilarious.
There's 2-0 for you. So it's important to know that while we're nerdy, we have a lot of fun doing it. So yeah, that's two of the guys. By the way, don't mess with Tanner. That guy will tear you up in the comments. We call him the General. He's 25 years old. We call him the General.
Hey, and just so you guys know, it's not nerdy paying attention to details. Wanting to know the why behind the what sometimes is what makes people good at what they do.
Exactly. Yeah. If you can understand the why, all of a sudden the what starts making sense. That always drove me nuts in my early building science training. They taught me what to do, but I didn't understand why. And that drove me nuts to the point that I literally wrote a book. So that talks about the why. So that's the home comfort book. But anyway, back to free quotes. If someone declines a $25 or $50 static pressure test, which is going to take you like 10 minutes, something like that to do. It's not very long to actually do. And their system eats itself alive when you put an ECM in it. Whose fault is that?
It's our fault.
No, it's theirs because they signed off that they weren't going to pay for the static pressure testing.
Oh, yeah. No, yeah.
So much of 2.0 is basically creating your own matrix. If you create your own rules of how you work with clients and you communicate what those rules are up front and you hold them to it, all kinds of magic happens.
Sorry, that was me. I pulled up another the Facebook side. No, that makes sense. I guess I don't know why I'm always willing to take blame on everything, man. I got to start being like,
Stop
fuck
that
you,
crap.
Mr.
Stop
Customer.
that.
It's your fault.
Right. Well, so if you don't have anything to fall back on, you're stuck. If you do have a signed document, or you got email correspondence, or one of the next things we're going to be doing within 2.0 is an email system that's not truly an email system because it's so hard to avoid spam filters, but it will be within the software where you'll click a button and it will populate an email to a client, and then it will CC the 2.0 system and shoot it right into that client account. So anything you do is going to be there to track later. So the more you can cover your butt, the better. But you're not covering your butt in a bad way. It's, look, they said this, they signed this happened. It's not what they wanted, but you let them know what the likely outcomes were. And when the negative outcome came, it's their fault.
And
so that's a whole lot of what it is.
No, and that's true. And I think as long as the person out there clarifies that, make sure that the customer understands 100% what you're saying, I'm cool with that. I know too many of those guys that are out there that would say that, and the customer is like, oh yeah. And then a problem happens. It's like, oh, well, you didn't say that. So, but obviously if it's not in paper, it doesn't exist. So that's why even when us hiring somebody, we send them a formal, offer letter. So the same thing with your customers, you put all that stuff in writing, and then, that does make sense. I guess I've always had that desire to please and help other people, that even if I thought I'm not sure about this, I've always pushed away from it, which doesn't mean it's right. It just means it's what I've done in the past.
Mm-hmm. It's funny. And so 2.0 is heavily based on the Sandler sales system, which is a system that if you use it well, if you ever feel like selling, or if you ever feel like you're selling, you're doing it wrong. So it's like an anti-sales sales system. But one of the things they talk about in there is get your mother off your shoulder. Now, Sonny, you need to go answer that question. You need to go do that. It's like, no, look, we made a contract before. I have it here signed, and we go from there. So I'll use Adam as an example. So one of his early comfort consults that he did, which is it's the middle path within 2.0. So there's free quote, there's comfort consult. That's the first choice. And then after the comfort consult, you either install HVAC or you move on to further planning. And that's where the advanced shell projects and everything happen. Almost none of the advanced shell projects happen, which is ironic because that's what we built first. So my closing ratio on those planning projects is 92%. If someone gets me involved, they're doing the work. And most of the other ones did something, they just didn't involve me. So these projects happen, they just happen. Although it's funny, when they don't involve me, 2 people called me back and I'm like, oh man, they totally screwed this up. The only thing you can do is to completely undo everything they did before, suck all the insulation out. We have to re-air seal and go back in. So you just pissed away 10 grand. Congratulations. And neither of them did anything about it. They just lived with it because they didn't follow what the plan was. But anyway, the advanced ones don't happen that much. So comfort consult, you do a blower door test, you ask a whole bunch of questions to figure out what they want to fix. And then you have a budget discussion. Like, if you were renting this house, how much more would you pay in rent if these problems didn't exist anymore? And that's a pretty good line for getting people to cough up a decent budget. And when they're like, well, how long? Forever?
I'll write that one down.
Yep. That sounds important. Write that down. That's that's both Sandler and Van Wilder. Write that down. Yeah. But if you figure those things out, you can help guide the client to what's going to happen next. If their budget's low, they're not going to get into shell work. So I'm going to do what I can with the budget you gave me. And then I'm going to suggest what I think you should do. And then if the house is really screwed up, I think you should do some more planning and figure it out. So Adam dealt with a younger lady who had bought a house in South Chicago, a cool brick house, 1.5 story, kind of a classic older. I'm sure you got a bunch in your area, Maryland and DC too. 1940s, 1950s Cape Cods, just cool looking, really well built houses. It's one of my favorites. I love that era. But she had just spent a fortune renovating the place. But she had this weird little furnace, like a 40,000 BTU furnace on the second floor that she hated where it was. And it just looked weird. And I remember Adam posted a picture like, well, I thought I'd seen it all. I haven't. Look at this thing. And she's like, I want something else. But Adam tested the house and it was super duper leaky. And it didn't have any insulation in the second floor to speak of. So that really isn't a project that you should do HVAC only if you expect a good result. So he went through the report. I helped him write it. And she came out the other side and she just chose HVAC. So I don't know if you remember seeing the photos. It was a two-head ducted mini split. Well, one was ducted. The other one, I think, was a ductless mini split. And so he jams this into her knee wall attics. I mean, Adam's not a small guy. So I hope he sent his helper in for doing most of that ductwork because it was not a big knee wall. I mean, Adam's like, 6'2" and 250 or something like that. Like he's not someone that you jam into a knee wall. But she opted for that. Like the job went well. She was happy at first. And then a hot summer day comes and she's like, it's still hot in that room. And he's like, well, I told you it would be because the place is not insulated. So all it's going to do is take the edge off. But like you've got a 140-degree roof, no insulation, and then plaster. What do you expect? And so would that have been something where you'd be like, oh, sorry. I'll go and I'll try and do whatever I can to fix it. No. If you got caught in that? No, maybe not.
No. I mean, I would probably handle every situation different because I would probably say something in the beginning if I offered to do things. And I mean, I would tell them, be like, this is only part of the equation. Do I think the new system will help? Maybe. Is it going to cure? Probably not. I mean, if they went back, I would tell them like, hey, if we have to do more work, I mean, discount. We all know we all get what we want for it, but I would try to help them with it, with any further work. But something like that, no. I mean, I will stick to my guns when it comes to certain things. I guess my problem is I would just try to avoid those situations.
Yeah. So I love that it ended up working out because Adam talked to her and said, well, remember that discussion that we had about, making a plan to figure out how to insulate and air seal the house better so that it would be easier to heat and cool? Oh yeah, I do. And that was the end of it. So she's still happy because she knows that was her choice. So it still improved the house a lot. I mean, he put a variable speed ducted mini split in there. And then it was funny too, because he was nervous about is the mini split going to do it? I'm like, dude, you have a 100,000 BTU furnace running the first floor that's like 1,100 square feet. It's fine. You have all the heat you need on the first floor. It's not a problem. Yeah. And that's such a common thing. But Adam's also been fun because he, like I, is a big fan of Ecobee thermostats because you can watch runtime and see when things are running and when they aren't.
I love Ecobees.
They're so nice for that. So if you're running 1 or 2 stage equipment, run an Ecobees because if the client starts telling you that something's going on, you can get some idea what's going on. And like I just helped a lady out on Twitter yesterday and she's like, well, the heat pump's noisy. So I just shut it off and I watch her temperature in her house plummet like 8 degrees and then it turns back on. Oh yeah, Rich, I can understand that. You have to set it up right though.
Well, and I agree. And I think that was my mentality, how I used to feel, but what you're saying is 100% correct. I just saw that and wanted to put it up. My fault. I didn't mean to throw you off there.
It's all good. I love that Rich is jumping in there. We just talked earlier because Taco has a heat pump coming out that is an air to water heat pump it's actually air to water to air. So it makes a tank of hot water. You run the hot water through a coil and you turn it back into forced air.
Oh, shit.
Which it's going to be really interesting. Like I know almost nothing about it. It has a 44,000 BTU output. That is what I know. That's the grand total. That's all they've said. But next Wednesday and the Wednesday after, they're talking about it. So if you go to Taco After Dark, you can go look at that. I'm curious to see how that product works. But anyway, Adam with the Ecobees, he has a whole bunch of them out there. And so he's installed a bunch of hybrid systems recently. And he talks to the client when he's hooking it up. Hey, how about I just don't turn the gas valve on so the furnace can't fire? And you call me when the house loses the war. And so he finds out what degree outdoor temperature it has a problem. And then he just gives them a 5-minute instruction: go downstairs, turn the gas thing on, go up, change the mode in the thermostat, and it's off and running. So you don't have to do that for a whole lot of houses before you really start learning things.
Yeah.
And he had some houses hanging on down to like 5 degrees with a heat pump in Chicago. Like that ain't half bad. Some of them lost the war at 20. But if you don't know anything more about the house than, just what the existing size of the equipment was, you learn something from that. How good is the shell? So I can't recommend putting in Ecobees enough, or their contractor portal, they actually just kind of killed. So the 824 Train or American Standard thermostat also has a portal where you can see what's going on. So anything that you can do to put a data logger in, you're going to learn something. What are you going to learn? Sometimes I'll be able to tell you, and sometimes you're going to surprise the hell out of me. So, just try stuff, and don't do it on every house. Do it on your own house and, a friend or family member, so that if something goes sideways, it's not a customer service problem. It's, conversation.
Yeah. Cause I want to say, I don't even think those Carrier Infinity stats even did that. Those fancy ones.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
Well, they do, but you have to be a superstar dealer to get access to it. And I had one conversation with someone who actually works at Carrier, and the opening line was, "How did you get this number?" I'm like, well, this isn't going to go well. That's hard to recover from. That's right up there with, I love you like a brother. Crap.
But
I'm in the friend zone forever.
Yeah. That's hilarious. It's funny. Earlier, I was thinking, because I was talking to somebody not long ago when about the motors, like when people used to always say like X13 motors suck. And, I'm like, yeah, technicians killed them because we put them in applications they shouldn't have been in. So it wasn't the motor's fault that we put it in bad positions. So that's that friend that you always put in a shitty spot and you just let him be there. That was what we did to the X13 motor.
Totally. It's not the best technology really anyway, but it reminds me of that meme. I think it was like Damon Wayans, where he like has a pistol and he shoots the guy behind him in a chair. And he's like, why would the manufacturer do this? It's like, that wasn't the fault of the manufacturer. That was the fault of the install. And like, you got to make sure the thing can breathe, particularly as we move to ECMs. They don't like it if they can't breathe. And I mean, none of this stuff likes it. Like the way I view a lot of this modern equipment, the old stuff is like, it's like a lineman, it's like this 400-pound super beefy guy. And even if like another 400-pound guy jumps on his back, he slows down a little bit, but he keeps going. The new equipment is like a European soccer player that's totally a prima donna. Like I've seen some good GIFs on that where like somebody touches the guy on the shoulder and he falls down writhing in agony. It just makes this huge deal of it. And you have to be careful with some of this modulating and inverter based equipment. Like, you have to make sure that the static that it sees isn't insane. You want to make sure that you've got surge protection. There's things we have to do now that we didn't before, but what they can provide is magical as long as you install it well.
No, that makes it. And most of the things that you're saying, like everybody who's a technician, like you should be doing these things anyway.
But you're getting beat up by clients. I mean, like, so can you do it for $200 cheaper? All right, but I'm not doing this, in the back of your mind. Like I remember hearing a book about a customer service rep for an airline just taking this brutal verbal abuse from this guy, and she smiled the whole way. And the author goes up and asks her afterwards, like, how did you put up with that and smile the whole time? And she said, oh, it's easy. He's going to Miami. His bags are going to Tokyo. So to some degree, we kind of do that to people a little bit, I think, where we kind of sabotage something because we're mad at them. And so ideally, we want to build the value for them. But building value is not the easiest path. Although one thing I can suggest, so I mean, a key piece of content, and it was funny as I wrote it, I didn't fully understand what it was going to be used for, but the home comfort book, the second chapter in it is called HVAC 101, and it just explains how the HVAC in a car works, because everyone understands that intuitively. I mean, you have variable heat and cool output. You have variable fan speed. You have dehumidification. It looks like the air conditioner button. You have fresh air. You have filtration. That's a killer, one might say badass, HVAC system. I mean, the only thing it doesn't have is humidification of the 6 functions of HVAC that badass should do. And when you explain that to people and then you tell them, so how many does my house do? How about a big fat goose egg? Oh, well, I don't want that. Well, you can get this, but we have to do this, this, and this. You know, we need a fresh air line. We need to put in a good filter. We need to upsize the ductwork so that the equipment's happy. We need to go variable speed. So we've got variable heat and cool output, variable fan speed. You know, if we do reheat dehumidification with an all heat pump system, that handles the dehumidification side, or you can do a separate dehu. You know, there's all these things. And this is how people end up selling this equipment. So if you send HVAC 101 to a client for a free quote, most of them aren't going to read it, frankly. Like 10% are. But the 10% that do read it, you walk in the door, they're like, so tell me more about this variable speed equipment, which is not normally the conversation that you begin with a lot of clients. They're like, oh, you're trying to sell me something.
Yeah. And I think that our sales process that we teach, like our actual, like the sales, like just straight up sales guys, like I go out and do some, I think we do a good job of how we explain it as far as, you know, the difference between single speed, 2-stage, variable speed, SEER, all that kind of stuff. But I'll be the first to say, I do think we miss the mark as far as the envelope sometimes, is as far as we're only controlling one piece of a much bigger problem that we at least need to bring it up. And you know, being a company that's not that old, I think we are very good at what we do, but we need to start expanding that a little bit, you know, to you know, and not saying I want to be a home performance company, but I want to at least offer solutions.
I don't want you to be, frankly. I really don't want you to be. If you do a little tiny bit of home performance, mainly you're just doing some critical diagnostics to understand like load calculations. If you don't know your blower door, your energy use, and thermostat set points, I can skew a load calc as much as 70% one way or the other. Like I've seen houses, same size houses, it could be a 14,000 BTU load. It could be an 80,000 BTU load. If you don't know those pieces of information, you're kind of guessing. Like it's not really a calculation. It's like shooting the broadside of a barn. Like you don't really know. Where if you can, now you have to be able to sell the client something. Well, not sell, they need to pay for those services. That's not something to ever do for free. We don't think you should ever do a load calc for free. I mean, there's going to be exceptions in some states like the Carolinas where you have to, but they're pencil whipped to a large degree anyway. But if they pay you to do those things, again, Saul, they're stuffing money in your shirt pocket. So are you a sales guy anymore? No, you're a consultant. And it's a consultant of the good variety. So good consultants, they really just want to make it so that you keep buying from them repeatedly. Great consultants actually put themselves out of work. You show them what they need to do and you move on. And then people are usually super happy and they send more people to you. So if you can just help them understand a few of these things, it's not that bad. And the comfort consult, like a lot of people are nervous about it. Well, Adam was one. So I went to Bill Russell's house of HVAC Overtime about a year ago. It was cold as balls. It was like 10 degrees that day, which is nearing design temperature. And like, I hadn't worn a coat that was thick enough. So like, I'm just freezing my patoot off outside. And we set the blower door up, and I had it in a giant house door the day before. It was like 8 foot tall and 4 foot wide, 5 foot wide, something like that. So it was stretched as far as it could go. And I wasn't satisfied with how I got it in there. And I'm like, Adam, pull that thing out, put it back in. So he went and did it. And then he gets the thing back in, and I just tell him what to do. And he gets the thing in, set up, running. And he looks at me like, that's it? I'm like, that's it. like you're mechanical. This is a 15-minute training process. It's just not that big of a deal. So if you can run a blower door, you're decent with other human beings, and you can follow a script, you can run a comfort consult. That's it. We purposely tried to design this for entry-level talent because at the end of the day, all of us coming into this are entry-level talent. Like you, the first time you go to a blower door test, you're going to feel like a moron, which is why we suggest do it for a friend or family member with alcohol and food, so that you can laugh your asses off about it and not do it for a client for pay and screw it up. And the next one, you want to do it for your partner or the CSR or something like that, so that you can understand what's going on. And then the CSR in particular, you don't want a CSR talking about a comfort consult from a sales perspective or something they've been told. If they have a story to tell about things that you found while you ran the comfort consult for them, like I always wondered why this room wouldn't heat or cool well. Turns out it's 50% connected outdoors. Like it's crazy leaky. So we went and we made a few changes, and now that room heats well. You know, that's a story that will sell that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But the first step at the end of the day, the first step of the 2.0 process is you ask clients what we call the 4 questions. Are there any rooms that don't heat well? Are there any rooms that don't cool well? Does anyone in the house have respiratory problems? And are there any moisture problems in the house? And it's not a yes or no. It's a scale of 1 to 10. And usually you're going to get a couple of 2s, and then sometimes you'll get an 8. Now, if you get 1 8, we suggest that you kick to a comfort consult because there's something going on that's fairly major. But otherwise, if your score's low, do a free quote. We're going to like your stuff. We're going to move on with life. We'll still offer the static pressure testing, the other things. And oftentimes if you do a static pressure test and it's on the moon, they're going to buy a consult. And then like we're seeing really nice bumps in closing ratios and job sizes through the consults. So most of the guys are doubling their job sizes versus free quotes. And it depends on the guys, like how big of a jump it is in their closing ratios, but 60 to 70% within 30 days is pretty common. And now that we've got some time with people using the system, it's looking like we're going to land between 80 and 90% closing ratios over time. Because some people, it's a ton of money. So they're like, I don't know how I'm going to get 20 grand. So you give them 6 or 12 months, they find the 20 grand. I watched this with the advanced projects, the CPP, the comprehensive planning process. That's our crazy, like that's for the really screwed up houses. Some of those projects didn't close until 4 years later. How do you even track a closing ratio when things take 4 years to execute?
Yeah.
Like, what do you do with that? But, they're big projects. They're $30,000, $50,000, $70,000 projects. Reedy Ward recently sold a $120,000 project out of a consult.
Damn.
Have you sold any $120,000 residential projects? I haven't.
I have not.
He just crushed me. I'm like, all right, I give up. You're the king. Like that's going to be the number to hit. John Esquivel in Austin, Texas.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, first CPP that he ran. So he has home performance shops. So he actually understands that stuff. It takes a little time to learn. So like you want to kind of get used to it because it's different. But like I said, it's not that hard at the end of the day. I'm working at an air sealing course right now so that people can take it and not be scared because it's just not that big of a deal. It's going to be like 6 hours and you're going to be up to speed, like 1 day of learning and you're going to be okay. You're going to know enough to go out there and fumble through a job. But Johnny goes out there and his first CPP job was $68,000 on a 3,000 square foot house. And my jaw hit the floor. I'm just like,
good for him.
What did you do? Like what happened here? And there were a couple things. I'm like, we'll see how that works. The client's super thrilled. They got 2 systems. They cleaned out the attic. They spray foamed all kinds of stuff. They got the leakage down. The house is super comfortable. Humidity's finally under control. So, I mean, $68,000 and the client is thanking him. It's like, well, that's kind of cool.
That's what happens when you get these better jobs and you actually solve a problem and you're thorough and you listen to them. They love you for it. And I say that all the time, that's awesome that he did that. Good for him.
Yeah. And he got paid like $3,500 before he even started the job for diagnostics and planning. Duct design, doing the audit, all that sort of thing. And he texted my partner and I a little while ago, and he sends a picture of his bank balance. And he's like, I've never even had half this money in my account before. And when I had half that money in the account, I owed 3/4 of it for equipment or something like that. Like, I've got all this money just sitting there. And he's like, and I feel good about what I did. I solved problems for people. They were happy to pay the money. I was happy to do the work. I didn't feel like a crook. And so we have so many stories like that, and that's what we want to do. That is the purpose of injecting building performance into HVAC. It's not to be super nerdy. It's not to be Bertha better than you. It's to make your life and the lives of your clients better.
Yeah, that's awesome. You guys are it's being thorough in what you do for the customers. And that's what I've always preached, is to go in and be thorough, provide options to the customer. If they decide to do them, great. If they don't, nobody's asking you to go in there and beat them up and take their wallet. Provide options to fix what they have going on. Oh, hey, you don't want to do that one? Okay. You're going to do this one? Okay, cool.
I'll take your money. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't turn jobs down out of pride. If they want a single stage system and that's all they can afford, take the money, go do the work. Like, it's going to pay the bills. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. As long as, so what I say is, I don't really care if the client fully understands the options, but if you feel like you did a good job presenting the options, you're done. You have met your obligation, because you can't control the client, but you can control yourself. Yeah. So did you do a good job presenting options and showing what the likely outcomes were? If so, you're cool. You're done.
Yeah, and they're never gonna. Like you said with the car, like, that's why you always try to put like an analogies that they'll understand, and you try to give them as much as possible. But they're not. You get lucky with some of them are like, oh, that makes perfect sense. Not all of them get that way. Some of them they get a little bit and they say they understand, but then you leave and they're like, what the fuck did he just say? They don't know. That's the first time I said fuck tonight, so you know.
That's really good. I opened the show with one. So what we're seeing out of the process, if it's a well applied, if 100 leads come in, 70 are going free quote. So still the vast majority of your work is going standard. There's nothing unusual about it. 30 of it's going to come for consult, and some guys are only running 5%. So, it is what it is. They're oftentimes not applying the process as well as they could and making sure the options are there, which is why we're putting this free quote process in place, so that, like you open the show with, if you have a process, that's great, but if you don't stick with it, you're in trouble. I view it like bumpers. So the whole 2.0 software, I've got a gift that I took of my daughter when we took her bowling. I don't know, she was like 3. Like, she couldn't even push the ball. It was like Uncle Buck, where the girl pushes the ball and it punches the pin and stops. And he's like, if the goal of bowling was to get as close to the pins as possible without knocking them over, you would be the champion of the world. And that was my daughter. So, we pull the bumpers up on the side so she can't gutter ball. And then we give her the chute, so that she just has to push it and it rolls down the chute and comes out. And that is what we've been doing our best to build the software to do. So basically, unless you really screw the pooch, you're going to stay on process. That's what we're trying to help you do. And we didn't have the free quote stuff in place because you need to offer people those 4 questions. Do rooms don't heat well, cool well? Are there respiratory problems? Are there health moisture problems? If you ask those every time and they give you low numbers and you have it on record that they did that, and they choose a free quote and something goes sideways later, well, I gave you the choice. This is what you chose. And they get offered that a few more times through the free quote process. And I think eventually that'll probably flip it to where it's 50-50 consults versus free quotes. And the consults lead to these just killer jobs and killer closing ratios. And you never feel like you're selling unless you're, again, just horribly applying the process. But you should never, ever feel like you're selling. There were a couple times I felt like I was selling, because when I was doing comfort consults myself, as we were developing the process, when we switched to the exact order that we run it in now, I went from about a 50% closing ratio of selling the advanced planning process. And these were pretty screwed up houses. That's all I really got to. Went from 50% to 100%. For like 7 of them in a row. And there were a couple I did them and I'm like, I shouldn't have sold this. Like they didn't need this level of diagnostics. This was not that important. And I felt bad. So I started selling away from it if I didn't think that was the right thing for them. And sorry, that's my German Shepherd Luther going to town. If you can hear him in the background.
Yeah, it's all good. Before, I mean, we can go as long as we want. So I know most of these guys in here know, for people that watch this after the fact, how do they get involved in the HVAC 2.0 if they're not already involved in it?
So the first step is on Facebook to join the HVAC 2.0 advanced discussion group. The other thing you can do is go to hvac20.com and there is a link to free onboarding there. Like I was saying, this is an ethos and a mindset as much as anything. Really getting your head around this and changing how you do things. It's been really hard for me because I have traditional sales training, and it's felt like changing religions or political parties. It's been really hard. So the actual technical stuff of what happens in 2.0 is not that hard. It's a few hours of training. You're good to go. Some of the load calc stuff takes a little bit longer, but like none of this stuff is that exotic. It's shifting your mind that is the hard part. So if you take free onboarding, it's 5 or 6 videos and emails that kind of get you up to speed so that you can get a taste and see, do I hate this? And if you hate this, please, for the love of God, go away. I don't want you. We don't want you.
Go away.
If you think this is suck, this isn't for you, get out of here. Right? I tried to do those so that it's a love-hate relationship or a love-hate reaction. I don't want you to be lukewarm. I want you to be like, hell yes, that's for me, or hell no, these people are weirdos. Either reaction's fine. If the answer is no, go away. If you do the free onboarding course, you can see what's going on. And then I've just finally finished the paid onboarding course, which is up to 42 emails. It's beastly. You will learn a ton of stuff. I have it priced super cheap right now. It's $100 for the moment. Don't plan on it staying there. And then you're going to learn all kinds of stuff. And it's going to take you like a couple months to go through it. But you'll learn a ton. And if this is something that's curious and you want to kind of take a look down the rabbit hole, that gets you pretty far down the rabbit hole until the point where you really need to decide, are you going to buy a blower door or not? Because that's the only tool you have to do 2.0.
That makes sense. Adam said first requirement of 2.0 is don't be a pussy. Thank God we are uncensored.
I won't mention a conversation I had in Florida where I called someone one because he wasn't being aggressive in his sizing. We have ballsy sizing contests. Who will go to the highest number of square feet per ton in sizing in various climates? So like my record in Cleveland is 950. That's for heating. Oh, in a cold climate. And she burns a little more resistance than perhaps I would like, but we have a new home that doesn't. And I've got another one that's 900 square feet per ton. That's a 60 split level, and he barely hits resistance. He has to get to design before he hits resistance. So it's below 5 degrees Fahrenheit. That's when heat pump outputs are really starting to hit the tank. Yeah. So it makes sense that he needs a little resistance at that point. But Brad barely uses any resistance. He uses $40 a year. Who cares? Nobody cares. 900 square feet a ton because we did a good shell job on a 60 split level. That's 2,700 square feet. It's got a 3-ton green speed. It's doing the job. There's a bunch of stuff where we have competitions so that, it's who's got the biggest balls. Let's go find out. Let's have some fun. So rather than it being a race to the bottom on price, right? That's not a very big ball.
No,
unless that's an actual testicle, and then that's pretty damn big.
Yeah. I just have big hands.
But so we try to make it fun in everything that we do. It's meant to be a competition, but it's a friendly competition. Like if you need a hand, you're going to have the phone number of somebody to go call. And they're going to help you through it. I just helped Ken Dean of Dean Heating and Cooling in Athens this morning. He had a comfort consult that threw him for a loop. It's going to be his first CPP. 3,400 square foot house built in the 90s, has a 6,000 blower door, which is hideous. A couple of the rooms were hugely connected outdoors. They were their offices and their bedroom. I'm like, we can't fix this with HVAC unless we put a mini split in here. And a mini split isn't going to fix it. It's just going to mask the problem. We're dealing with symptoms. We aren't dealing with causes. And so we had to figure out, what are the packages he's going to offer? What is he going to suggest to them? How does he talk to them about this? And that's the kind of mentoring that happens naturally over time. So it's not always going to be me. In fact, it can't be much moving forward because we're getting big enough that, I can't help everybody one-on-one. But, as guys go through this and they get better at it, you can talk to each other, get feedback, and, cool things happen. So that's what we're trying to do. This is meant to genuinely change the industry. It's a totally different way of looking at things. And so, the earlier you get in, the better it's going to be.
Well, I love it, man, because see, I was always the tech nerd, I started out as a tech and then I kind of went the sales route because I was a good communicator of people, but not everybody can do that. And how many do we know guys out there that they are good techs, but they're so afraid of the sales side or doing that kind of stuff that they end up
terrified of it. Yeah.
They screw themselves in the long run. These guys aren't making the kind of money they should make because, and I think they mean well, but they're just not doing it. And I think something like this can make them realize that, hey, you're doing that tech stuff. You're doing this really good stuff that's providing a service and you are selling and you don't even realize you're doing it. That's what I love about it.
That's what we're seeing pretty consistently. We're drawing in smaller companies for now, for the most part. We've got one behemoth that's 85 million, but almost everyone is in the $500,000 to $1.5 million range, and this is helping them put processes in place so that they can become that bigger company. Because you have to price for the company you want to become. I killed my installation company because I never figured out how to build enough value to charge enough so I could hire a salesperson. So I was the one stuck selling. And looking back, I really don't know how I could have done it better. Like just selling basic insulation. It's not the right crowd. There we are. Buy a blower door, Gil. Do it. Spend some sponsor money. Yeah, 8% off with uncensored code.
Yeah, just so you know, I am going to buy one.
Sweet. It'll blow your mind in a bunch of ways. It really will. It's such a fun little tool, and it's the magic. We joke like it's so important. If it's like a doctor doing surgery, it's his eyes. He literally can't do his job without this, which is why it's the only required tool. Get yourself an IR camera of some sort. A $300 FLIR 1 Pro is fine. That's fine. That's all you need. You don't need anything fancy. And you should probably have one on the truck anyway, because you'll be able to diagnose electrical issues. You can look for something that's hot that shouldn't be. And then you can usually figure out what's going on. So you'll use it otherwise. And it's $300 is a pretty cheap tool.
Yeah, I used to have a nice FLIR one, and then I let somebody use it, and now the guy doesn't work for anymore, and I never got it back. So that's how that worked. Yeah, but and around here, we have to, whenever you pull permits, we have to do blower door tests. So it's something that So it's code. So, it makes sense to have it anyway, because we were outsourcing it to a lot of these custom homes we were doing. And we had a company that's all they were doing. It's like, well, why don't we just do it ourselves, And then that blower door machine will pay for itself anyway.
Well, that's the goal. So I should back up. Like I very seldom tell somebody to buy that tool, because we want you to go try out and like borrow one or rent one or something to make sure that that's for you. But like if you have enough money in the tool budget and it's something you're pretty sure you want, I know you, Gil. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
So if you've been thinking about it and you've got the money saved up, pull the trigger, move on. But to other people listening, don't buy a blower door. I don't want to be responsible for you buying a $4,000 tool you don't use. You're going to be pissed at me. Don't freaking do it. Make sure that's what onboarding is there. Start learning, start getting your head around it. If that's what you want to do, great, buy a blower door. You can get them used for like $2,000. You have to hunt all over the place, but they're on Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist. And there's a few other places you can find them. But
I might have one for a good deal in a couple of months. We'll see.
not if you're like my daughter and you use the process and you stay in the bumpers and you hit the pins. Don't screw that up. I'll be pissed at you.
Yeah, no, trust me, I won't. I don't like to fail at anything.
I know you don't. Are there any questions we should be tackling in the chat? Like, I kind of wish I could see the chat because I hear the noise like
the click, and it's funny because there's supposed to be a chat that pops up on your side. Guys, if you have any questions, I mean, for me or Nate, if you want to go through and you can put them in all caps, so that way I can see and know it's a question. We can answer some questions here before we start to close this out, and I don't keep Nate all night. Daniel Caswell.
Well, that makes sense.
What do you say? For tax purposes. And everybody out there, sorry, I got rolling this morning. I didn't get to say hi to everybody. Thank you all for being here. I know Adam is here, Isaiah, Gary Black, Ryan Kerr, Tanner was in here. So if I missed you, thank all of you for being here. I appreciate you guys that come here live. I know there's people between YouTube and Facebook, and I know there was almost 100 and something people watching at least at one time.
Nice.
Yeah.
May you get many downloads, sir.
Yeah. Pay the bills around this motherfucker.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of these guys, there's not really that many. Well, we'll wait and see if a question comes in.
They're just screwing around with each other. So I didn't know if they were asking things or like in the overtime show, we basically just screw around with each other in the comments while everything's going. But that's kind of the point of overtime. You just mess around with each other for the most part.
Yeah, well, it's good. And the other thing I wanted to say about what you're doing is it's also good to build a community, people that rally around each other, and you feel like you're not alone and you have somebody out there that's helping. I mean, I try to do that with Uncensored. Granted, it's not, I'll be honest, it's not the community that I'm trying to think about. HVAC Uncensored is PG compared to Overtime. Get out of here, man. Just because you guys wear shades in the dark and drink beers. Come on now. No, they do it all. I love their show and what they do. It just sucks.
Me too.
Friday nights is like our family thing that we do. So I have a hard time, watching their show live. So I pop in, I try to say what's up. I know I did last Friday, but I'm always watching them after the fact. Yeah, any kind of community like that is just good. Sometimes people just like that sense of belonging and knowing that there's somebody else, man. Plus it just makes it attractive to the younger generation getting into this trade. Like I could talk for a whole other fucking hour, man, on here about the whole trade school versus college stuff. And I fucking hate it. So,
so do I. And it's funny. I'm a college boy. But you know how much of college I use? There's somewhere in the range of fuck all. I'm glad I did it. I've got great friends that I got out of it. I learned some stuff that was interesting. I took a wonderful trip to Austria and Germany where I got to where I could think and dream in German. But for what I do now, it means nothing, just nothing. So yeah, learn a trade, especially with as expensive as college is these days. But bringing the young kids in is so important. It's funny. Like I thought of myself as young. I turned 44 this month, and I'm just like, shit, I'm old. When the hell did that happen? Like in my mind, I'm still 25.
Yeah, Doug, salt and pepper beard here going on, man. It's
yeah, look at the side here. I'm pretty heavy gray. But we need to be bringing in the 20-year-olds, and they need to be able to make decent money. They really need to be able to take pride in their work. Oftentimes, like, I don't know how the big companies can do like 2 chains outs a day with a crew. Like, you can't do a good job. You just can't.
No. You're cutting corners somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, even a change out in a day can be tricky depending on the job. If you got a bunch of duct modifications to make, you're not doing that in a day unless you throw 4 guys at it instead of 2. It's just hard. But you have to make sure that you're making money with that crew, because at the end of the day, labor is our pinch point. I mean, right now we've got equipment shortages and stuff, but like that'll get sorted out over the next year or so. Well, we didn't have major equipment shortages until now. There's every now and then something would be weird, but generally it was fine. But labor is going to be a problem for another 20 years. And that's part of why when I was originally thinking about how to talk about 2.0, we talked about it being made for where most of the work can be done by entry level talent. And that's why. Because you bring in a young kid and you hand them a blower door and you go give them the script and they go off and they do it. And they're like, I learned all this cool stuff. Look at what these clients told me. They kind of get their minds blown, and it gives you something else that you can give a newbie to go do that they're unlikely to fail at. Yeah.
Well, these kids, they don't go get, $150,000 in student debt. They're starting the world off. They're starting their life off on the wrong foot already. They can't find a job in the field they're trying to do. And if it's not a hard skill, let's be honest, lawyer, doctor, something, a hard skill. I got a philosophy degree or a business management. Okay, what fucking business you going to manage? These kids but then our trade school system is so fucked that I tell most guys to just find a good company. Like, if I get a young kid who's a good person, has a good work ethic, because I always say you can't teach somebody to not be a shitbag. So if they're a good person, they have good work ethic, they come in, I'll teach you what you need to know. I'll send you to the schools that I validate, that I know are doing the right things, and we'll do that. And you'll be light years ahead of these filter changers coming out of these $25,000 schools where they're saying, when you get your first job, you should be making $35, $40 an hour. And then they come in. I mean, I get these guys beating on my desk. Well, right? I was told that I should ask for, 30. And I'm like, what? I'm like,
how about 17?
Like, what
you're a liability for the first year. You're going to cost me money. You're not going to make me money.
Yeah, 30 divided by what? Because, it's just, we got to be realistic. But, this younger generation coming out, and it's not their fault. I mean, I really hate to say this, but, when they see these YouTube stars, it's not like, hey, I want to be a YouTube star in 10 years. It's, I want to be a YouTube star now. It's almost like that drug addict mentality, that instant gratification. You want it and you want it now. It's not like, when we were kids and it's like, man, when I get older, I want to be this. That's not how they think. Yeah. So
there's no dues paying. Like, there's always dues to pay in whatever you do. You got minimum 3 to 5 years dues to pay. It just is. I mean, that's the 10,000 hours concept. Until you spend 10,000 hours mastering a skill, you don't truly master it. What's the shortcut? Work more hours. It's the only shortcut. You can get them over with sooner. But I mean, becoming a house whisperer, it's been so much work and effort and trying to figure stuff out and like digging into different things. Like, I mean, I'm well known in the clean energy space. I've now written a freaking policy proposal, co-written it one. There's all this crazy stuff, and it's like, it's all of these things that I had to learn to kind of get to where I am. And it's like, what are you going to do? The dues had to be paid. The work had to be done. So, how do we get the kids to do that? But then also, how do we train them right? Because it would be better if there was a trade school where kids came out good and had reasonable expectations, which in my experience, that's been more of the community colleges. Somebody said something funny.
Yeah, Adam. He's a fucking nut, man.
I love you, brother.
And that's the thing. I think there's
fun too. He's been so fun to bring on because he's been kind of he's been under my wing as we've been coming on and teaching him all this stuff. Because I've never had anybody want to learn faster. Like I just kept throwing crap at him, and he was like, "Nom nom nom." All right, what else we got? Like Jiminy, like how are you learning that fast? This is just crazy. Like
so he finally knows what he's doing now.
Yep, 100%.
Like, no, yeah, and Adam's a good dude, man. And he's always wanted to try to do the right thing. Me and Adam have talked, and I know in his market too, man, when he was, trying to find people and stuff like that. And so I've seen his pictures, dude. It's awesome what Adam's doing. So I'm glad that he's doing that, and it's And what I was going to say real fast, before about the school thing is I wish that there was a mandated curriculum that had to be taught. Like, what if there was an like a trade college, like a legit college? It could be 2 years, but they had HVAC, electrical, plumbing, that you go there and you literally learn what you have to learn, almost like extended VOTech, but it was legit. Like, I think Canada has us beat as far as like their Red Seal and, how they do their trades. Like when I found out that there's more states that don't require licensing for HVAC than do, I was kind of sad. Yeah.
Yeah, that's that kind of surprises me because I'm used to, you need a license for plumbing. Well, not even plumbing necessarily. Usually electrical and HVAC. Those are the consistent ones.
Yeah, I want to say when I talked to one of them, I want to say it's 18 states require licensing.
Wow. Yeah, that's a little scary. So otherwise, you just need a 608 and you're off to the races, huh?
Yep. Some of them you get a contractor's license call today. Like Pennsylvania around here, any dipshit in a van swinging dick can be out and they own a company. Trust me. I have a brother-in-law who's one, and he's the biggest piece of shit in the world. Somebody said, "All right, now stop sucking Adam's ass." All right, Adam, I'm sorry. I was just being.
Thank you for showering.
Yeah. So that's funny, man. So guys, if I will put in the show notes of this, and I'll go back when this is on YouTube and the Facebook group, and I will share links to that. So you did say HVAC2.0.com, correct?
Well, just HVAC 20. So 20.com. Yeah, no second dot or it won't work. But it's still pretty simple. HVAC20.com. We usually call it 2.0 anyway, even more so than 2.0.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. So I'll make sure that I get that. Definitely check this out. And I think this is something that, I'm interested in checking out because old dog can learn new tricks. Just because I have communication, I still always want to be better. And I'm still always trying to, well, for one, we know you can never stop learning. If you stop learning and you think you're a super tech, then you're not. Yeah, you're dying. I always, I always want to try to be better, and I know that I want to learn things, and I've always wanted to do that. Once I got into the business side and stuff like that, I feel like I fell behind on some of my tech aspirations. It was more about learning processes to teach what I know to technicians, and I've gotten good at that. But now I want to get myself more higher, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Oh, 100%. That's one of the real curses of being a good tradesman. And like we see this consistently. Like if you want to break 3 million a year in sales, you basically have to get yourself out of the field. Like there really isn't another way. There you go. Thanks, Adam. And I'll make sure you got the link too, Gil, so you can post that. But it's really hard to go from being a tradesman to being a business person. And if you want to grow to a larger company, that is the option, unless you have a partner that's handling business. But I mean, even then, you probably need to be pretty involved and watch your numbers and see what's going on. So that's always a hard pill to swallow for people that are technicians first, like yourself. So that's always going to be a struggle. But can you keep learning? Hell yeah. every day I'm learning stuff like, well, that was stupid. It happens all the time. That didn't work. All right. So how do we design that in so that people don't make that same mistake that I made? And maybe I can tell them a story and they can learn the easy way by learning by this thing that I screwed up. Because like basically we joke, and it's not really a joke, but there's somewhere in the range of like 75 questions that you ask people as part of the comfort consult. Like it's no joke. It takes like solidly an hour. Every question is in there because either I got screwed by not asking it or somebody that I know got screwed by not asking it. They are in there for a reason. There's a story between every single question. And so the process side, it's so hard to do, and it's hard coming from being a technician to moving to straight business. So I feel you.
Yeah, and that's why people know being a good technician and being a good business owner it's two different skill sets. That's why so many guys have trouble when they start their own business. Not saying guys should not do it. Just be prepared. You can learn that side just so you learn to be a tech. Just know that it's different, because I have people that reach out to me all the time. Like, hey, I finally started my own business. And like TJ Harnett talked about last week, is pricing is the number one thing that guys don't get right. They price themselves out of business. So yeah, it's crazy. So I've that's been a new avenue, learning different things about that. But now that kind of thing is going, or learning how to replicate what you do so somebody else can do it. You know what I mean? Because like you said, if I want to help grow this business, I can't be in the field. So I'm not in the field at all anymore. I'm in the office 100%. I go out and help people and look at stuff and still do some sales stuff. And I like to go out on the technical stuff. They'll call me and I'll be like, they'll just ask a question. I'll be like, I'm on the way. And then I get there and they're like, you didn't have to come. I'm like, oh, well, just to be safe.
I had time.
I just want to check it out.
Fun.
Yeah, you want lunch or something? Let's go out buy lunch. Because
that's critical. The business side is really, really important to get your head around. And I mean, you just need to understand some basic numbers. I mean, really, all you need to know within business, it's 4-function stuff. You don't even need algebra for almost all business stuff. Can you add, subtract, divide, and multiply? Well, you better be able to, because you have, you're the same or similar age to me. Our teachers used to tell us, you won't always have a calculator in your pocket. And it's like, oh yeah? Yeah, look at this.
Yeah. Yes, I do.
It's a graphing calculator if I need it to be. It does everything. So it's like, shut up, teacher. But all the business stuff, it's not really that incredibly hard. It's basically committing and then having some balls about it. And it just go learn and put stuff out there. And I mean, what I've done for years too is the first time I sell something, I just want to sell it. So I'll sell it cheap just so that I can sell it and learn and understand where the value is. And then the next time I bump it higher, and then the next time higher, and the next time higher, until I figure out where the real value of that is. And I think that's an okay process, like not ideal. And within HVAC, there's enough of a formula. I don't think you have to guess that much anymore. Like the stuff that we're doing, nobody knows how to do this stuff. So I had no idea how the hell to charge for it. So I just kept screwing around. In fact, funny story, when it came to the comfort consults, initially when I was doing them, I did them for free, which was stupid. But let's go do some and learn. And then I charged $50, and I had some jerk that brought me in, and he starts raking me over the coals. He's like, why do I have all these moisture problems? Well, sir, you have 3 fish tanks, and your humidifier is set really high. I don't know why I have mold in your attic. I called you here because you're an expert. I'm like, well, you're ignoring my advice. And it finally got to where like I was pissed, and I walked out and like, I'm never fucking doing this again. I'm sick of this shit. I'm not going to build this anymore. I'm going to go get another job. Damn it. I'm going to change this to $200, and nobody knows what the hell the service is. Nobody's going to ever buy it. And that's going to be the end of it. The next day a lead comes through. Motherfucker.
Damn it, I'm doing it again.
So yeah, I went out, it was still too cheap, but nobody knew what the service was. It was new. And so we had to learn how to do that sort of thing. And that's sorry to come back to the pricing in 2.0 some, but the Comfort Consult, we don't recommend charging a fortune for it because it's basically a paid quote. You're getting paid to do what you used to do for free. It's a little more work, but you're still getting paid to do what you did for free.
That's what I was going to ask you. Do you, when people join that HVAC 2.0, do you have a guideline on what to charge for the different ones, or is it just kind of like what they charge up to them?
We give you guidelines and then you can work within that. But I mean, generally the consults we suggest do them for like $300 to $500 so that it's enough that, you know, it's real money, but it's not a fortune. Because that's going to lead you, like if you give them a good work scope, I just did a video the other day, it was an email rather, scaring the shit out of your competitors with your work scopes. If you just do a good job writing out the good work that you normally do, somebody's going to see it and they're going to be like, holy shit, look at all the stuff they're doing. And they're going to price it high because they're afraid of your spec. That's perfect. It's what you do every day anyway, or you should be. So when your customer goes to somebody and says, can you do the same thing but cheaper? They're going to go to 3 different people and find out the answer is no. And your prices aren't low. They're just fair. Yeah. But the consult, you don't want to charge too crazy much for, or else you extract so much of the value up front that you lose a lot of the trust that's involved in that process. So could you charge $1,000? Probably, but it may kill your closing ratio. Because now they're like, well, was it worth it? You want them to be like, hell yes, that was fun. That was cool. I've never done anything like that. I got this report that taught me all kinds of things. And I can't imagine buying my equipment from anyone else. That's what you want to have happen.
Yeah.
So it's just a different way of going. But there's all kinds of pricing things that it's important to understand, but it's all relatively simple math.
Yeah. Well, and I love that because especially when you're doing things like that and you're offering it like that, I know everybody in my market, all the big boys, all the ones that I gotta be careful with, or not be careful, but I have to know about, you know, none of them are doing that. So that is something that I'm going to do. I say at the end of every podcast, I'll say at the end of this one is do what the next guy's not doing, set yourself apart. And I feel like that's something that would even set us apart from our competition around here that, you know, because the big guys aren't doing that. It's, you know, hey, I want you to read this paper in your truck, memorize it and go spiel this to the customer and tell them, you know, that's how much it cost. And that's not what we do. And we've already thrived being different, but being thorough. And I actually really, and it's funny because, obviously, I've always been in the HVAC 2.0 discussion group. And I thought about this and looked into it because I was like, how do we take ourselves to the next step to be different? And it's funny because this is what I was thinking about before we even ever talked about coming on the podcast. So it's kind of funny.
Sooner when we get the free quote process running, which the first piece of it should, fingers crossed, hopefully this isn't an Elon Musk promise, be up and running sometime the end of this month. Because I handed our CTO the report for that. There's 3 or 4 other pieces that I want to build behind it. But when that's there, if you run all of your sales leads through that, beautiful things should happen. And then you don't have to work to do this. It's just part of the process.
Nice.
So, and it's not going to be perfectly polished. This first version is just going to be okay. It's going to squeak. It's going to rattle. So please tell us what sucks, but just tell us why. I'm all for constructive criticism, but don't tell me that it fucking sucks. Tell me it sucks, but if you did this, it would be sweet. Okay.
I'll do it on this. Not this.
Yeah.
Right? Adam said join 2.0. I think I'm going to, man. It's something that I'm going to bring to, you know, Ryan and see what he says. That's, you know, that's not my decision. Not, you know,
I'm going to send you the free onboarding link. It's a few emails and videos, and just go through it over the next, you know, week or two, and see what you think. And if it's not for you, that's fine. I'd rather you tell me that it's not for you.
Yeah, I can't imagine it wouldn't be, but I'll definitely check it out because I think I did some of that stuff when you were first doing this. Because I remember you sent me and Kelly some stuff to see how we, you know, what we thought about it.
That was all really early. Yeah, we didn't know what the fuck we were doing yet. We knew how to do the house whispering, but we didn't know how to teach HVAC contractors how to do it very well yet. And now we're getting to where we're halfway decent at that. And like I said, until recently, even today, it's still basically for nerds. It's for early adopters. It's people that like the new things. But as soon as we get the free quote piece working and the email piece working, it's going to be a real piece of software that you can use in even a decent sized company.
Yeah. Looks like we have somebody, Jimmy Carpenter said, how can I get more info? Jimmy, I'm going to put it in the notes, but go to hvac20.com. Go there and then you can get more information. Info.
And if for some reason I'm an idiot and I haven't put free onboarding on the homepage, it's going to be there as soon as we hang up.
Yeah. So definitely go check it out. Yeah. Adam was saying for me, he's like, Gil, you should join it. And I'm going to look at it. And then he wrote over here, he said, you're already not a pussy. So step 1 complete. Well, thank you, Adam. That's fucking hilarious. I was gonna say, I think in your preliminary, in your first emails, I think I got like dick pics and like some other like goofy stuff you sent over in the email. I was like, what is HVAC 2.0, man? Like,
I'm pretty sure there were no dick pics.
Maybe I sent those to you. That's your thing. Yeah,
maybe that was it too.
Yeah, maybe that was my that was my reply. Shit, that wasn't supposed to go to Nate. But man, Christ, we've been going on here for almost 2 hours, man, and I knew
we gotta go to bed, dude.
Yeah, and I knew that we would have no problem finding something to talk about when you come on, man. I love having you on, man. You know that you're always welcome here. Please, I would love to do this every so often. I'm going to bring up the discussion with the team about, joining 2.0, because I really think this would help us grow in the avenue. Even if we started off slow with it, I just still think it's something that could help us grow.
Yeah. And start slow, put it on the side. That's fine. Like that's fine. But man, I get a lot of requests about DC because there's a lot of policymakers that live around you. So like, I get leads weekly that I'm like, geez, I have nobody to send these to.
Yeah, we're trying to push there. It's just Baltimore and DC are two totally different markets. Like they're 100% different, and we want to master one. Yeah, before we get up there, because it's just a two-headed monster. I appreciate that, Adam. Hughes, man, sorry, I forgot to say what's up to you, buddy. Jimmy, if you need help, I just gave you the information. Everybody put it in here, but God forbid if you can't find it, need help, just reach out to me. But
one other thing I should give Gil. So my email is super easy. It's Nate@hvac20.com. So if you got a question or whatever, just ping me. Send me an email. You won't find many shorter emails than Nate@hvac20.com.
That is pretty short. Ryan, thanks for the head, Mr. Go Weaver maintenance. All right, guys, we're gonna put an end to this, dude. Nate, thank you for coming on, man. Thank you for what you're doing, the community you've built, for teaching people to do, be thorough and do it the right way. I think we preach the same kind of things as far as what we want. How you get from A to Z doesn't really matter as long as you're doing a good job for the customer and you're getting paid properly to do it. It's all the same thing, right, man. So keep doing what you're doing, buddy. I appreciate you, man.
Do the same. Good night, Gil.
Thank you, buddy. All right, man. I'm going to close this thing out real fast if I hit the right fucking button. There we go. Guys, thank you guys for coming out, man. It's been awesome sitting here talking to Nate, what he's doing in the home performance and what he's doing for people like, Adam and with HVAC Overtime, seeing how much it's helped him grow and talking to lots of other people. I think that's amazing, man. Guys out there being thorough, doing the right thing for their customers. It's fucking awesome. And a situation like that, we all win. You're doing a good job. You're providing a good service. The customers love it. You're making good money, which we should be making good money. It's a win-win. Nobody can lose. So Let me, I will put all the information. God, these wireless chargers are a pain in the dick. I will, put all the stuff in the show notes for Nate when it comes to, so you guys know, hvac20.com. That's how you get to Nate's website. And then Nate, NATE, at HVAC20.com. And then his group is HVAC 2.0 discussion. Make sure that you can get to all that. If you have any trouble after this, just rewatch the fucking video or reach out to me and I can get it to you that way. But thank you guys for being here, man. I really, really do appreciate you. Real fast, I want to say this. I've been fortunate enough to really have some awesome guests coming up. So I have the CEO and president of Blue On, Mr. Peter, I'm going to butcher his last name, Peter Capucci. I don't even know. Mr. Peter is coming on. I have Uncle Joe Casera, which is actually March 30th, my birthday. There's not a whole bunch of people in that market that I have like 100% respect for, but Uncle Joe is the man. He's honest. He does things the right way. Absolutely love that dude. I can't wait to speak to him. And then I have some of the Miss Colleen, one of the women in HVACR. Those ladies are badass chicks and they are kicking ass coming into this industry. So that's about it. Thank you guys, man. Make sure you check me out on all the HVAC platforms. All the social media platforms, HVAC. I do have a giveaway coming up and I'm going to tell you guys that are here live. The first giveaway is going to be on Instagram. So make sure you follow me on Instagram. Just search HVAC. I have a Klein digital meter and I have an inspection camera to give away. So please be there for that. All right. Other than that, guys, remember, always be safe. We all got somebody to make it home to. Always make it home the same way you left. Do the little things like what me and Nate just talked about doing this. Do the little things to set yourself apart from the next guy. All right. And then just don't be a shitbag. Be a good person. And I want to say this, the power of the pen. Write down your goals. When you write down things like that, it's amazing how many times you write them down and things actually come to fruition. All right. The power of the pen. That's my little trick for you guys this week. I love you guys. I appreciate you and have a good time.
Thanks for listening to the HVAC Uncensored podcast. Don't forget to check us out on Facebook and Instagram or email us anytime at hvacuncensored@gmail.com. Now, get back to work. Shut this down. The views and opinions shared on the HVAC Uncensored podcast may not necessarily be the views and opinions of our sponsors or guests.